Hello and welcome to another one of my videos. Today I will be talking about the Four of Cups. And if you have a look at this card, we start to notice that there is some trouble here now. The first three cards in this suit were very positive. And this is the first card where we can see that something is not right. Like you can notice that the sky is darkening, the sea that was very calm and peaceful starts to have some waves now. And the water flowing from the lotus flower, it's not overflowing like it was in the Three of Cups in Abundance card. We could see this peaceful sea here and overflowing pure, beautiful water. In the Four, we start to see that this is a closed system. This water is not flowing back into the sea. Rather, it is just enclosed in this system of Four Cups and the lotus flower. So we start to see that we are starting to build some structures here, but maybe it's not going to be so beneficial to have limitations and structures in an element like water. And I just wanted to mention here that if you are only interested in the meaning of this card in divination, you can skip to the end of this video, and at the end I just give a list of meanings basically in different situations, in different types of readings. But if you want to find out a lot more about the card and a lot more about the symbolism, we will go into it now, and we will start, as usual, with a quote from the Book of Thoth to see what Crowley wanted to tell us about the meaning of this card. This card refers to Hesed in the sphere of water. Here, below the abyss, the energy of this element, although ordered, balanced, and for the moment stabilized, has lost the original purity of the conception. And to understand this quote, and especially this phrase, below the abyss, we need to have a look at the Tree of Life. So we are now here, we are in Hesed, and the abyss is here on the Tree of Life. So we have the supernal triangle here, and when the energy descends through death, through this invisible Sephirah to Hesed, it crosses the abyss. And this is now the ethical triangle on the Tree of Life. And Sephirah Hesed is connected with planet Jupiter, and it means loving kindness, but this is a place where structures are built because we have the energy of Jupiter. So laws and structures and justice has its beginning here. And the energy of water kind of loses its power here because we are trying to restrict it in some way. We are trying to stop it from flowing freely, and we are trying to impose some rules on this free flow of the element of water. And the element of water is symbolizing our feelings, our intuition, and it really doesn't do well in situations where it needs to be ordered and restricted. As we all know, we can try to control our emotions, but only in the short term. If we try to do it in the long run, the results are never positive. Let's hear another quote now that will tell us a bit more about this card. The sea is still shown, but its surface is ruffled, and the Four Cups which stand upon it are no longer so stable. The lotus from which the water springs has a multiple stem, as if to show that the influence of the dyad has gathered strength. For although the number 4 is the manifestation and consolidation of the dyad, it's also secretly preparing catastrophe by emphasizing individuality. So we can see this catastrophe being prepared in the elements that I already mentioned in the beginning of the video. So we have the ruffled sea and we have this darkening sky above. Also, if we have a look at the cups, Crowley is saying that they are no longer so stable. And if we look at them, they look quite sturdy and stable here, but we have to also look at the contrast because the cups are very angular and they have very sharp edges here, and the ornaments on them are really sharp and angular. And this is contrasting with the shape of the lotus flower. And the shape of the lotus is very flowy, it's very smooth, it's rounded. So we can see how there's a mismatch here between those two energies. We are trying to introduce some structures, but the structures we introduce are based on a very flowy and natural and organic force. Let's have a closer look at this lotus flower as well. It doesn't look as fresh here as it did, for example, in the Three of Cups, if you remember those beautiful, lush lotus flowers. And look at the stems as well. They were like in golden yellow color. But here, the lotus looks like it's drooping down. It's a darker color and the stem is brown. So the flower here looks like it is drying out. Another thing that is mentioned in this quote is the dyad. So a dyad means a pair, it's a set of two items. And this refers to the two streams of water that we have in this card. And we can see that the two streams sort of create this set of four. And this is what Crowley means when he's saying that the number 4 is the manifestation and consolidation of the dyad. So it's like the natural next step after we have a set of 2 to then turn it into a set of 4, and this gives us even more balance and stability. And as we've already seen, trying to create stability here and some form of structure doesn't really work very well with this kind of energy, with the element of water. If we have a look here, those two streams, they don't really touch, so they are separate. And this is what Crowley says about emphasizing individuality. So there is no free flow here in this card. The system is closed, and the water is ordered in a way that it cannot flow back into its source, and it cannot nourish the lotus flower that it comes from. So we can say that the energy flows only one way here, and this is why the lotus flower is drying up, because it's unable to receive the same nourishment that it gives. And if you have a closer look here, we can see that there are arrows here in those streams of water, and we have 10 arrows on each side. So this further emphasizes the idea that the flow is very ordered and it's focused on matter, because 10 is associated with Malkuth, with the 10th Sephirah on the Tree of Life, and this is the manifested reality, our material world. Let's have a look now at the astrological attributions of this card. So Crowley says that the card refers to the moon in Cancer, which is her own house, but Cancer itself is so placed that this implies a certain weakness, an abandonment to desire. This tends to introduce the seeds of decay into the fruit of pleasure. And you have to love here Crowley's flair for those poetically dramatic metaphors. So the seeds of decay that are introduced into the fruit of pleasure. But it is actually what we are experiencing here in this card. So we were really lucky for the first 3 cards of this suit, and now we are starting to see that something might be going wrong, but it's like just a hint, just a beginning. We see something on the horizon, but we are not sure yet what it's going to become. So if we have a look at the decan wheel and where we are at the moment, we are in the last decan of Cancer. So 4 of Cups is here, Moon in Cancer, and the time frame is from July 12th until July 21st. And here we have a moon in her domicile, Jupiter is in exaltation in this sign, so the link to Hesed that I mentioned before should be very positive in this case, because everything should be right in this card. And this is very interesting because this is actually linked to the meaning of the card. And the meaning of the card is a situation where like everything seems like it should be fine, but we still don't feel happy. There's still something wrong, but we might not even know what is wrong. It's just this strange feeling of moodiness and not really knowing what we want sometimes. So the moon in Cancer, she's in her own domicile, but being in your domicile is not as good, we can say astrologically, as being in your sign of exaltation. So in the domicile, moon in this case, she has all the opportunity to act out everything that she is. So, like all the full spectrum of the moon's influence can be seen in the sign of Cancer. And this can be overwhelming, and this can be not necessarily very constructive. But when a planet or a luminary is in its sign of exaltation, in that placement, they work in the best possible way. So, some limitations or some influence of a different energy is usually very, very beneficial. So this is the difference, and this is why even though the moon rules the sign of Cancer, she's not going to be as good here as she is in the sign of Taurus, where she's exalted. And the sign of Cancer is not only a very caring and nurturing sign, it also wants to be taken care of. So it can be sometimes emotionally demanding and moody because it gives a lot of nurturing but also demands it from the other person. And when we think about the core qualities of the moon in her full spectrum, so her changeability, the constant flow between increasing and decreasing, so anything in this realm needs to be in constant motion, to be in balance. So Cancer needs to give, but also needs to receive. And the moon is the same. The moon needs to change all of the time to stay in balance and to basically to perform its function. So here, change equals stability. And if we are trying to build rules and laws in this form of energy, and we are trying to create some structure here, we will have to sacrifice some of the free-flowing enthusiasm and excitement that would otherwise be present here. Now I'm going to tell you a bit about how to interpret this card in divination. So the core meaning of the card is being dissatisfied, being bored with what we have, not appreciating people around us, and taking everything for granted. And there is too much focus on materialism here. In relationship readings, this card can mean that someone is taking their partner for granted, there's some dissatisfaction in the relationship, and there's like an overall lack of spark, lack of excitement. And this card often shows up when people have been together for a while and they really do start to think that, oh, well, like this is what it's gonna be, I don't have to do anything special anymore. And usually there's an easy fix if this is the only problem in the relationship. You just need to start doing some exciting things together. So it's not a very negative card in relationship spreads unless there are other cards around it that will point to some bigger issues. But this card alone just signals us the beginnings of problems, and if we deal with it immediately, then everything's going to be fine. In spirituality, the Four of Cups can mean that we are not in the flow of things. We have lost our way a bit. Maybe we are not mindful. It's a good time to introduce some gratitude practice, and it can also signal a lack of energy flow, but it is again not a bad card alone. It just shows us the beginnings of issues, and if we take care of them immediately, we're going to be fine. If this card in your reading describes a person, then this is someone moody, someone that's really bored with what they have, but they might not see a solution. They might just feel like things are wrong in their life and they don't really know what to do. This can also be someone who takes others for granted. As an event, I see this card as a boring work party. So this is carefully organized fun. And I think this card will be any event that is supposed to be fun in theory, but it was planned so much and it's controlled to this extent that it just becomes cringy and uncomfortable for people, and no one can really relax and just have a good time at this event. If Four of Cups shows up in your reading as advice, then you really need to do what the card signifies. So it lets you know to be passive in a given situation, don't really get involved, and don't make an effort. On the other hand, if this card shows as an obstacle, then it tells you to reevaluate the situation and really take responsibility for what is happening and take responsibility for your own happiness. Just start appreciating the people around you. You can practice gratitude. A great form of gratitude practice that is really simple is just to list 20 things you are grateful for every day. And you just sit down with a piece of paper and you put down 20 things every single day. And it can be even like really small things. Like you can be grateful for sunshine, or I don't know, you saw a dog on your walk to work and it made you smile. It doesn't have to be profound, but you will be surprised how it changes your perception. And if you are in the energy of the Four of Cups, if you are feeling a bit moody and you feel like nothing is really right in your life, then this can really change your mood. So it's very simple. You don't really need anything to start doing it. And I think you should give it a try if you have those feelings. And even if you don't, like even if you think you're fine, just like try and do it and see what happens, and then tell me in the comments what happened and what kind of effect it had on you. Because I often practice this when I'm feeling a bit low, and I found out that this works amazingly well. So there's a little tip for you on how to practice gratitude if you need to. That's it for today. Thank you so much for being here with me. Of course, please remember to like the video and subscribe to my channel if you haven't subscribed already. You can also support my channel on Patreon and through PayPal, so I encourage you to check out the links in the description below. That will take you to those websites. Thank you again for today. It's been really lovely talking to you, and I'll talk to you in the next video about the Five of Cups really soon. So thank you so much. Bye!